Hey guys, welcome to Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast, a podcast where we help you navigate the often complex world of buying, selling and renting real estate here in Ipswich and the surrounding areas. I'm Steve Athanates. I'm the owner of NG Real Estate here in Ipswich. I'm joined today by a great friend of the show, Matthew Taylor-Farrington.
Yes,
we've called a bit of an extraordinary meeting.
Yes.
Matt's obviously our resident expert from Purple Bunny Marketing, but we've called an extraordinary podcast to talk about something that's really important to you.
Yeah, well, I guess, we were chatting and talking about what's it going to look like. There's a lot of things playing out in the market. And I guess the question is, what do you think it's going to look like? The next 6 weeks could change a lot of things. A lot of things could change.
Yeah, look, this next 6 weeks could be the most important 6 weeks in Australian real estate this year, okay? And it could set the tone for what happens not only for this year, but into coming years. So this next 6 weeks is vitally important, and there's a number of reasons why. First, we obviously have a war in Iran and Israel, which is not good, right? So what that war is doing, apart from obviously killing people and displacing hundreds of thousands of people, it's also putting huge inflationary pressure. Obviously, it's starting with fuel, which then impacts groceries. Everything we know and deal with as a way of life is being affected by that cost of fuel, right? That is putting massive inflationary pressures on our economy, right? Now, we all know what happens when we get pressure on inflation and inflation goes up, so do interest rates, right? So number one, the war in Iran. We need that war to end as soon as possible.
Yes.
Okay, the longer it goes on, the worse it is for each and every one of us around the world. It's costing huge amounts of money. I see the American economy they've doubled their national debt since this war's been raging. They were supposed to reduce it back to zero. Now they've doubled it instead. So obviously that's having massive impacts for the people of in the United States. But here at home, okay, we can't see the bombs, we can't hear the missiles, we can't. We feel like we're largely unaffected. When we really feel it is when we go to the petrol bowser. Okay, we go to the grocery store and everything's dearer and our money seems to just doesn't go as far.
Correct.
Right? So that's the impact for the war for us. So the first thing we need to do is we would hope within this 6 weeks that war ends. Right? And peace is restored and we go back to our normal way of life. And for all the people in those affected countries, our thoughts and hearts go out to you, so hopefully that can happen quickly. Right? So that's fact number one. That's what's going to really affect the next 6 weeks of real estate here in Australia. Second thing, we talked about it, inflation. All right? Inflation is obviously being driven up. We've got a number of factors here which we've talked about in the past. Our government is spending huge amounts of money on, education, hospitals, all those sorts of things, all the basic infrastructure that our country requires. So that puts enough inflationary pressure because we've talked about in the past, the government is adding a lot to that inflation by its increased spending.
Correct.
We've got an Olympics coming up, which we've talked about continuously leading up to 2032 and a huge amount of infrastructure. That in itself is putting enough pressure on inflation, and that's why we've already seen some rises in interest rates. We've had one. Now, we've got, in the next 5 weeks, we've got another announcement in relation to interest rates. If this war continues to rage on and inflation keeps going up, and obviously based on the cost of fuel, everything's getting dearer and dearer and dearer, people have less money to spend, but inflation is rising, we are going to get some interest rate rises.
Agree.
Okay, so we talked about it on our podcast. We make a prediction. Okay, what's going to happen? Okay, now, no one knew there was going to be a war, okay? And that has obviously already severely impacted our markets. We've seen things like Bitcoin take a tumble. We've seen the price of gold tumble. We've seen the price of silver tumble. The one key thing that's been the rock in terms of our financial prosperity has been the housing market. Now we're starting to get reports coming out even from realestate.com and obviously our CoreLogic and our industry bodies basically predicting that the rates of growth will not only drop, okay, some of them in some states like Queensland, we will still see positive growth. They were tipping anywhere between it could have been anywhere between 8 and 12%. Now we're more likely to see growth rates anywhere between 3 and 6%.
Yes.
Now, in states like New South Wales and Victoria, we're actually going to see negative growth.
Yep.
So what that means is there has been a correction, and house prices based on people's levels of affordability and their ability to repay debt have dropped.
Yes.
And we're now seeing house prices reduce.
Yep.
Okay? Everyone's possibly, if you haven't bought a house, you're potentially cheering and thinking, yay,
Yes.
this is my chance to jump
correct.
in. That's potentially true. And for you, bit of good news. But for anyone who owns a home, if we saw a correction in the vicinity of maybe a 5, worst case scenario, a 10% reduction,
Yes.
and your property's worth $1 million, you could lose potentially $50,000 to $100,000 worth of equity. All right? Not great news.
No.
And I don't think anyone out there is going to be cheering about that.
No.
So again, big concern is this inflation and the effect that it's now going to have on interest rates. Now, we make a prediction in our Ipswich Real Estate podcast about what we think is going to happen, myself and Steve Beach. We do it every single month. Now, sadly, those predictions have largely been taken out of our hands, and it appears almost definitely there will be an interest rate increase in 5 weeks' time.
Yes.
So for everyone at home, unfortunately, on top of everything else, the cost of fuel, the cost of groceries, the cost of everything, electricity, private health has just gone up again.
Yep.
The whole lot. So unfortunately, your mortgage is going to increase because the rate of interest that the banks are going to charge you is going to increase based on the cost of lending that money.
Yes.
So again, more inflationary pressure because interest rates are going to increase. So we've got those couple of major things that are impacting us. And on top of that,
Yes.
as if that wasn't enough, Matthew.
Yes, I
If that
agree.
wasn't enough, we've got a federal budget in 6 weeks' time.
Yep.
Now, God knows what's going to happen there in terms of fiscal spending and further pressure on inflation. But for our property markets, there is a lot of speculation that the federal government is going to change the laws and the rules surrounding capital gains tax,
Yes.
right? So a lot of people who have invested, and some of these people have been in the property market for 40 years, and obviously had investment properties which they got certain tax incentives to own, right?
Yes.
Which provided, I guess, affordable housing for people who couldn't afford to buy the houses.
Yes.
Right? We've all got to live somewhere.
That's right.
They're now talking about taking away some of those benefits, which means we may, in the next 6 weeks, see a lot of investors in a mass exodus from the rental market, so selling their investment properties, where they're saying, I know what the benefits are today and what tax deductions I get today, but I don't know what's going to happen in 6 weeks' time when the federal budget drops. So effectively, I could lose a big chunk of my entitlement, so I'll just sell now.
Yes.
Right? If that happens, and it is starting to happen, right, you'll see less and less houses available for rent. And guess what's going to happen to the rental prices?
They're going to go up. Less demand, correct.
Yeah, well, there's going to be less
demand,
supply.
but less supply.
Same amount of demand, but less supply.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, rents are going to go up, which is obviously diabolical for our, the people who can't afford to buy houses.
Yeah.
Through no fault of their own, potentially rental prices could increase significantly.
Yes.
So we put all of those things together, and the next 6 weeks could be
make or break.
Could be the perfect storm.
Yes.
Where effectively all of the forces unite together for not a happy result for anyone.
No.
All right. So what I would suggest to you, if you are a seller, okay, I can absolutely tell you what the value of your house is today.
Yes.
All right. And it's being supported by sales. We've obviously had the Easter weekend. Even over the Easter weekend, we sold 12 properties. We've got 12 properties pending from the Easter weekend when everyone would think, no one's looking at a house.
No.
It's the long weekend. It's Easter.
People spending time with family.
Still lots of people looking at houses and still lots of houses transacting. So I can tell you what they are because I was doing open homes myself this weekend. What they're going to be in a month, 2 months, 3 months' time, I don't know.
Yes.
So, if you've ever thought about selling your property, everyone wants to sell at the peak of the market and they want to know that they got top dollar.
Yep.
Are we at the peak of the market? I think so. Okay. Now, the only time we'll ever truly know is when we look back 3 months from today and think,
Yes.
oh, yeah, prices have dropped. All the economic forecasts that come from experts, not myself, but from experts are saying we expect to see a correction, a slowing of the market. So if you want to get out and get top dollar for your property, sell it today with NG Real Estate.
Yes, of
All right?
course.
So if you want top dollar, sell today. If you're a buyer, is there relief in store for you? Potentially.
Yes.
All right. How long will this go on? No one knows. Could there be a dip like there was potentially leading through COVID, where we see a slowing and in some cases a drop?
Yes.
Once the war ends, the pressures on inflation are over, does it take off?
Yes,
Again,
correct.
like it did after COVID.
Yeah.
The answer is
We don't know.
no one knows.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're in the property market today and that did happen, you would be the beneficiary.
Yes.
So if you're a buyer, when should you buy?
Now.
Now. Buy now. Because at the end of the day, you have an opportunity. If there is an upswing somewhere after this event ends, you also will be the beneficiary
Correct.
of that upswing. But it is a concerning time.
Yes.
And for myself as a real estate professional, and obviously we would see ourselves as obviously the market leader here in the Ipswich real estate market. We are the number one listing and selling company here in Ipswich. Our responsibility to you is to educate you about what is happening,
Yes.
what might happen, and not scare you about what could happen.
Yes.
Right? But at the end of the day, I absolutely know the value of your home today.
Yes.
If you want to sell and you want to get top dollar, sell now. All right? So hopefully we haven't scared anyone, Matthew. That's definitely not our
No,
intention.
I hope not. And I mean, you know, it is a prediction based on factors that you're looking at, and you're determining what you think's going to happen.
These
and
aren't my
you
opinions.
hope you're wrong.
These aren't my opinions.
Yes.
All of these opinions are based on factual evidence and research done by people who are, no doubt, a lot smarter than myself.
Yes.
All we're doing is we're expressing in a format that people can basically
Yes.
potentially understand. All of these pressures, they're not your fault. They're not my fault.
No,
But
correct.
they're happening.
Yes.
So there's an impact associated and a consequence of these forces.
Yes.
So like I said, all we want to do, and the purpose of this podcast is to educate and
Agreed.
inform.
Yeah.
So if you've got something out of what we talked about today, I'm happy.
Yes.
Okay. If you've got any comments about what we've talked about, any questions, we would love to hear from you.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
feel free to click the link below if you'd like to ask us any questions or you've got any comments on what we've discussed here today. Matt,
Yes.
it's a concerning time.
Yes.
Okay. It's a time of change. Now, sometimes change is good, sometimes change is bad. How do we know what this is? We wait
Yes.
and we evaluate and we talk about it on a monthly basis on Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast.
Agreed.
Where you get all the information you need about the Ipswich and surrounding real estate market.
Yes.
Mate, absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time to talk about something that's so important to
Yes.
our subscribers. It's Matthew Taylor-Farrington, Purple Bunny Marketing, the
Yes.
number one real estate, marketing company here. I'm the number one real estate.
Jesus, I was going to say, Jesus, did I change professions? Wow.
The number one marketing company here in Ipswich. So if you need anything, reach out to the boys and girls at Purple Bunny Marketing. So thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
Once again, guys, I'm Steve Athanates. I'm the owner of NG Real Estate here in Ipswich. We look forward to seeing you at our next episode of Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast.